October 17th, 1979, a man broke into Dees' home while his mother was out, and when she came back, the man shot and killed her. This is Cannon's story.
Me and my brother was in school, in elementary school. I was in kindergarten actually, and um, when school dismissed and Mama wasn't there to pick us up, that's when we knew something wasn't right. And they took me into the office, started calling and calling and calling, and didn't get anybody. And then they ended up calling my grandmother, and we went to the house, and it was me and my grandmother and my brother that actually found her, and that made it even harder and worse because it was something that nobody should have to see, much less a 9-year-old and a 5-year-old kid.
As time went by, Cannon grew angry, and the anger built up inside. He was hateful towards his wife and kids.
Having a bad temper is like being a puppet. Anybody can push your buttons and put you on those strings, and that's not a fun place to be at all. And I realize now that I can't control the world or how the world treats me today. If I go to the gas station, I can't control if some guy gets rude with me or cuts me off at the pump or anything like that. I can't control that. All I can control is how I choose to react to it. Younger, I was running from the fact that I knew I had to forgive Charles Goodwin, the guy that done this to my mama, but I didn't know how. Uh, I tried to rationalize in my own mind, how do you forgive somebody, that took somebody from you like this? There was two words that kept coming into my mind as I doubted my salvation because, as a kid, I'd went up and to the altar and thought I was saved, but I knew deep down that I wasn't saved because I hated Charles Goodwin, and I had all that built up inside, and I kept coming back to the two verses, Matthew chapter 6, 14 and 15. For if you forgive men their trespasses, your heavenly Father will also forgive you. I'd always come to that and talk to my best friend about it, and I'd say, I just don't feel like I'm saved. I feel like I have to forgive Charles Goodwin, and I can't do that. I can't. I don't know how. And I thought to myself, you know, if Charles Goodwin asks Jesus to come into his heart and he has remorse for what he did and he is sincere about it and he asks for forgiveness, that Jesus will forgive him, a murderer.
2012, Cannon was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. It changed everything.
Because it was definitely a turning point that got me directed back on the right path and led me back towards Jesus and got me closer to him in my daily walk with him.
So you were walking with Christ for 8 years, and then something significant happened to you. What was that?
And I just said a prayer out loud and said that I hope and pray that Charles Goodwin has remorse for what he did that day. And I know, God, if he comes to you and is sincere about it and ask you for forgiveness, I know you will forgive him, and I'm 100% okay with that. And as a matter of fact, I pray that he does that if he hasn't already. And then right after that, I asked for forgiveness for myself, and that's when I had total body feeling come over me, and I knew I was saved right then, and it took my breath away. It was joy and fear all in one moment, and joy in the fact of knowing that I had just been saved, and fear in the fact that I I thought, I knew what would have happened if I had died before that moment. And
Cannon writes what would seem to be impossible.
had already talked to Brother Shane Matthews and talked to him about giving my testimony at church and talking about forgiveness and how I got to this point. And um, I just had a feeling that, if I'm going to stand up in front of church and tell people about this, um, I need to tell Charles Goodwin the same thing. I need to tell him how I felt about him for all those years. And I need to tell him how I came to forgive him because I had forgiven him. Expect I had Brother Shane mail it for me and everything, so he wouldn't have my home address or anything. I didn't tell him my name. I just wrote him a letter and told him that it it was my mother that he murdered and on October the 17th, 1979, and I hated him for all those years and had rage and anger and all that built up inside because of him. And but I told him that it took a long time, but I got to the point through Jesus to where I had forgiven him. And the way I done that was I stopped trying to figure out how to forgive him on my own. And I took my mountain to Jesus. I, I just said, here it is. I surrender, Lord. I can't do this on my own. I need your help. I've tried everything I know to do. And I wrote him the letter and um, I did get a response. I didn't.
Wow, you got a response.
Yes, it says, to whom this concerns, I knew you didn't think I would write you back. Let me just say before I get started, there hasn't been a day in the last 41 years that I haven't thought about the crime I committed. I still do think about it. And when I got your letter, that really floored me. You may not believe this, but I wanted to reach out to you to say how sorry I am for taking someone so dear to you, and I didn't know how. I knew you hated me. Your world turned upside down at such a young age. But like you, I got involved in the church, and I too asked God to forgive me. And I prayed about it. I still do. And I put it in His hands. And now you too are part of my prayer. You have no idea how much remorse I have in my heart. I've had many sleepless nights praying, thinking about what I did. And like you, neither one of us will ever forget October the 17th, 1979. But we can forgive one another and live for the Lord. I'm a new person. I'm not that person anymore. He's been long gone. God has forgiven me for my sins. I would have answered you before. I wanted to say I'm truly sorry for all the pain I caused you. I hope your life is full of joy and free of the COVID-19 virus. Peace and joy.
What did you do when you got that letter?
For me, the letter really justified the fact that I had forgiven him and I had put what he done between him and God because I didn't question, whether he's sincere about this letter or whether he's not sincere about this letter. That's not my decision. That's not mine to carry. That's between him and God. Like I said, the only thing I can control is my daily walk with Jesus. I can't control this. And at the end of the day, it's a piece of paper. It's not going to change what happened, but I really thought it was a good letter, a good reply. It did make me feel good. Um, I hope he and pray that he is sincere about what he said and that he does have remorse And even more so that he has accepted Jesus. I do pray that he has accepted him, because I know if he has, that he is forgiven, a murderer. And that does make me feel good. But like I said, it didn't make me question his motive on it, or whether he was sincere at all. I had put it between him and God, and this letter really justified that for me and let me know that I had done that.
What I think is so amazing is that you prayed for him, even though you weren't saved at the time. You were praying for him back then. That prayer, significant, very significant for
Yes,
him.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
And he is blessed by you, because even though this happened, you were able to share your heart, to let go of that. And how would you tell somebody that's watching right now about forgiveness if something really tragic has happened to them in their life?
To not try to figure out or justify or rationalize in your mind what they did, why they did it, and to simply pray for that person. Pray that they have remorse for hurting you, and pray that they seek Jesus, because at the end of the day, that's the only thing that matters.